Hello, wonderful bookish family. Welcome back to Coffee Over Apples. My name is Steph. This is a speed drawing book review for To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers, a novella that I read and absolutely fell in love with. It immediately became a 5-star read. If you've been here before, you know that I am a super Becky Chambers stan, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. So, this book was so beautifully written, it was so heartfelt, and is a book that I would suggest to every sci-fi lover because Becky Chambers stories are usually so utopian, they're so hopeful. And in this book, we're following a crew of space explorers who have been sent to other planets and were put into a slumber so that when they arrive, they could search for extraterrestrial life. And boy, do they find it. There are multiple kinds of aliens that they find along the way, and this is not a secret. We're actually reading this as a transcript that was sent back to Earth written by one of the crew members. So we're aware from the very first page that this is a kind of documentation of their excursions and that it's very important to life back on Earth that this information be made available. In the very first few pages, we also learn that Earth has been made aware of bacteria and other presence of life on other moons and planets. So it's not new information that they're going to find, but confirmation of what these creatures might look like, and just to confirm the evidence that they've seen from sending rovers off that life does exist. So it's not necessarily that our main crew is completely discovering the existence of life outside of Earth, but rather expanding our understanding of the universe. A very cool aspect of this book was the idea of soma forming. I have to give it to Becky Chambers that she constantly impresses me with the amount of research that she's done in her books. It's really clear that she takes the time to deep dive into what atmospheres, creatures, flora, fauna might look like on other worlds based on our current understanding of explorations of the world that we live in. And soma forming is no different because it was so interesting that she created this idea of a patch that would, I guess in a way similarly to a nicotine patch or something of that sort, that the explorers would wear, and it would alter their physical properties in order to ensure that they can go and explore these planets that either have higher levels of gravity or less oxygen or something of that sort, so that they don't have to carry as much equipment. It's very interesting. She explains everything so well. But aside from being able to really give us a clear understanding of how the physics and scientific properties of her stories work, which I love as a fan of hard sci-fi, she also gives us these moments of humanity that are just so sweet. Our characters being concerned for having an impact on the planets that they land on is the most heartwarming thing. It makes me want to root for them because they're so conscious of the impact that they would have on these worlds when they get there, and they take every precaution possible that they can ensure that when they are there and they're doing their research, that they're not incidentally altering the lives of the creatures that they come into contact with or leaving any kind of mark on the ecosystem. Now, that's not to say that some accidents don't happen along the way, and it really broke my heart when certain things happened because these characters are just so wholesome. And if you've read Becky Chambers before, you're probably already aware of how wholesome her characters are. A major factor of this story is that towards the end of the book, we start to question what's happening back on Earth, because certain communication lines seem to be getting mixed up, and they're trying to send information back, but information is kind of coming through and kind of not coming through. So what does that mean for their mission when they find out that there's possibility for them to make even more explorations? The characters are very much aware of the amount of resources and manpower and financial burden this has placed on Earth in order to get them to where they are now, so far out into space and so ahead of our time, that they want to take full advantage of this opportunity to collect as much research as possible, so that when they go back to Earth, they can have all the information necessary to accurately and efficiently plan a second trip to explore the universe further, maybe in a different direction, maybe in another solar system, who knows. But when they have to make a decision as to whether they should keep going or not, how do you do that when you're having a hard time contacting headquarters to help you make that decision? Also, when supplies are running low, but you might have enough to get there, and what this might mean for humanity, especially when there's inklings of war back home. Because honestly, when aren't there inklings of war back home in any science fiction story in which we have a crew out in deep space trying to contact Earth, right? Something must obviously be going wrong. On the notion of what it means to be this kind of explorer, my heartstrings were tugged so hard when our exploration team discussed the sacrifices that it took for them to go on this mission. It's not just that they're sacrificing time and resources, but they're also sacrificing their entire lives, because the amount of time that it would take for them to go on this mission and come back, most of their family members may or may not be alive anymore. That says something about the level of commitment that it takes to go on these missions. And I thought about that so much, and how much I would love to have this kind of opportunity to go do something like that, but what that means as a burden on our families, and what that would mean as a burden on the explorer psychologically. I don't know that that aspect of exploration is discussed enough, in the sense of when we are passionate about something that we research, when we're passionate about being a creator or an engineer or anything that involves taking a significantly large portion of our time and energy to focus on. Those are daily decisions to sacrifice for something else. There are ways of leading a balanced life, but at a certain point, there may come a time where someone needs to make that sacrifice for the advancement of humanity. And in this case, it was finding resources in order to better life back on Earth for various reasons, whether that be climate change, preventing war, curing disease, whatever the case may be. And the families of those individuals who make that large sacrifice of time and dedication are also sacrificing their own time and dedication. That means something. That means something as a collective group of individuals who all understand the meaning of sacrifice, what it means to work towards the same cause, to work towards something that is much larger than ourselves. That is the purpose of this book. What it means to understand that some things are just bigger than us, and appreciate the role that we have in producing utopia. It's just so good. I love this book so much. I gave it absolutely every 5 out of 5 stars, and if I can give it a bajillion stars, I totally would. This is definitely worth a reread. And like I said, it's a pretty short novella. It's only 150 pages. If I had to make a suggestion as to what someone should read if they were interested in dipping a big toe into hard science fiction, I might definitely suggest this one. I hope that you like this review. If you like this style of review, please consider leaving a thumbs up and let me know in the description below if you've read this before or if you plan on reading it, because I would love to have more friends to gush about. If you would like to read science fiction with me and my sci-fi friends, I do have a Discord that is linked in the description below for the Interstellar Sci-Fi Book Club, where we read sci-fi books every month, and I post videos every week. Catch you later, friends. Bye!
What's it making, Mr. Wonka? Mr. Wonka worked the factory.